Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the beautiful Mumbai Airport, where today we finally get to try out the new flagship product of Air India. Air India actually made an aircraft order of astronomical size, including a total of 470 aircraft. Half of these were Boeing and half were Airbus. A large portion of the order was designed for long-haul and high-capacity aircraft. Because of this, there was 20 A350s as part of this order. Originally, there was supposed to be 10 of the 900 variant and 10 of the 1000 variant. This has since been adjusted to make it only 6 of the 900 variant, and the rest being the 1000 variant. Air India has already planned on these A350s becoming their flagship, operating some of their biggest demand routes, and the order timing helped them expedite that. You see, for popular aircraft, like the A350, there's typically a years-long wait list to acquire these after placing the order. Air India's timing could not have been better, however, with Aeroflot losing out on a whole bunch of airplanes set to be delivered soon because of sanctions, so their aircraft were redistributed to other carriers. In addition, Qatar Airways was in the midst of a legal battle regarding their A350s, meaning a whole other set of aircraft would be available soon as well. As it happened, Air India was assigned 6 A350s, originally destined for Aeroflot. As a matter of fact, they will maintain the original Aeroflot interiors, and then from that point on, the rest of the deliveries will feature the Air India planned interior. That's enough for now though, timestamps will be down below. For now, it's off through the airport. The first step after clearing a quick security to enter the terminal is the Air India check-in desks. We can use the business class lines for our flight today, where we got not only our invitation to the lounge, but we also got to see the new Air India branding. This is my first time with Air India since the rebranding and the new livery came out. Gotta say, I think it looked great. From there we head to the back of the terminal. International departures are the majority of the stands and have the extra immigration step, but for domestic we'll stick to the left, head through security and down the stairs. The terminal setup at Mumbai is simple because it's one main terminal, except for the domestic budget carriers. The upper level is for international passengers and downstairs for domestic. And I gotta say, for a domestic terminal, this is pretty nice. With all the shops, the extra decorations, it matches a lot of the international terminals that we've seen around the world. At the end of the main hallway is a food court with windows of the ramp outside. You can see here that the same gates are used for domestic and international, the only difference being that if you're international, you'll be walking down the ramp from the upper level, which you can see from above there. We also get a great view of this Virgin Atlantic A350, of which I have plans to fly on this year for the first time. And behind that, we see one of the 747s that taunted me a couple of years back when I was desperately trying to get on a 747 before they were gone, but the airlines were more ambitious to retire them, I guess. By the way, if you needed any more proof that the international terminal is the same floor plan, just one level above, not only do we see the jet bridges originating from both the top and bottom floor, but we can literally see people walking over our heads and carts driving over our heads. Next, it was a short hike to our lounge today. On the way there, we see one of my favorite parts of the Mumbai Airport, designed to look like artistic building fronts. These art pieces span all floors for arrivals and departures, and it's a great way to have something besides just a plain wall. Just past that, however, we reach the Adani Lounge. This lounge is quite large, especially for a domestic lounge. The first area you'll see is the main entrance for the non-business class passengers. This includes people paying for entry, as well as priority pass if I'm not mistaken. They get super crowded and also limit the amount of time you can spend in the lounge. For business class passengers, you just have to head next door. It's the same lounge but with a separate entrance and a private room. Business class passengers have no time limit, and once scanning their passes, they enter this first room. You'll notice that the room is open on one side. It actually connects to the rest of the lounge, but it has a restriction. And by restriction, I just mean a sign, telling the non-business class passengers to remain out of this area. In this area, there is a buffet, smaller than the main buffet, but with better options it seemed. There's plenty of seating for the limited amount of passengers allowed in. I actually got a window seat at a table for 4 that remained empty during my 2-hour stay in the lounge. Adventuring into the main part of the lounge, first we see a spa. Unfortunately, there's only showers in the international lounge, which, like the airport, is directly above this lounge. Past that, there's a lot more seating, and I will add that this part of the lounge definitely felt more crowded than the business class lounge. Just past that is the bar section, which is nice for people wanting handcrafted drinks. And past that is the main buffet. As I mentioned earlier, it's larger than the buffet in the business class section, but I believe that the business class room had slightly better looking food at least. As mentioned, after exploring the rest of the lounge, I grabbed some food and found myself a window seat while I ate food and watched aircraft coming in and out. Unfortunately, the arrivals and departures were just out of view, so I wasn't able to see my A350 land. That being said, it wasn't long before it was time for boarding, so I could go see the airplane anyway. So I went a bit early so I could get a view of my A350 before departure. When we got to the gate, the airplane was indeed there, but it wasn't in a great spot to take it all in. Here it is though. This is the best view we could get, and even still, it's very exciting to see the A350 of Air India in person for the first time. I also have to say that the detail in the terminal here in Mumbai is wonderful. Even the lights and decor are way above the standard for a terminal, especially a domestic terminal. Why can't airports in the US be as incredible as Asian airports? China, India, and various other airports around Asia are just incredible. Finally, we started boarding. The only issue is that they told business class passengers to board last and remain seated for now. I found an issue just because I wanted to get on board, partially for our pre-departure amenities, but also because most of us in business class were here specifically to look at the cabin and wanted some time to get in there and take pictures and videos before people filled it in. I talked to the gate agent who boarded me with the economy passengers and a couple business class passengers that were there for the same reason, so I could be ahead of most of the other business class passengers. I joined the queue and scanned my boarding pass, where we queued once more in the jet bridge for about 15 minutes. Finally, however, we were moving and we turned left into the business class cabin entrance. And boom, there it is, the Aeroflot Air India Combo A350. The first of 20 A350s to be joining the Air India fleet and the first of 6 in the Aeroflot configuration. You'll see it's in a 1-2-1 configuration, and your best seats depend on if you're traveling with other people. So if you're traveling alone, you'll want an even numbered window seat. It has the counter on the aisle side. The privacy doesn't matter as much since it's a closed door suite, but you just end up fairly far from the window in the odd numbered rows. If you're traveling with someone and want to sit next to them, you'll want the odd numbered rows in the middle seats because the counters are on the aisle sides and then you're closer to your travel companion. And if you end up next to a stranger, no worries because there are privacy partitions that can be closed. Regardless of how you're traveling, it's a great way to fly the A350s because they have no overhead bins in the middle section. In business class, it makes the cabin feel just that much larger. My seat today is 4K. You'll see the closed door business class suite with the counter on the aisle side so that it's much closer to the window. I gotta say that I am loving the colors of this cabin. I know that it's left over from Aeroflot, so I guess good job Aeroflot. I do have to say that at the current moment, this is probably the closest I will get to flying Aeroflot, so I was also taking it all in because of that. Now let's check out the seats on these new A350s. For starters, the headrest is fixed. It doesn't move or adjust, but it is super comfortable. I found the seat itself to be somewhat firm in my opinion, but it is super wide, although weirdly enough, there's no armrest along the window side. Along the window is the 2 windows for the suite. They're the first windows I've ever had in the A350 with the mechanical window shades. You can drop the shades with just pressing the down button, and it drops the filtering shade and then the blackout shade. You can stop it partway by just pressing the button again. It's the same shades as first class on the A380s, but it's the first time I've seen them on A350s, and this time with different buttonology to make it work. In front of you is the TV. It's very large and very high quality while being able to be controlled by touchscreen or the TV remote. Below that is the tray table. I've never seen this style and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It drops down and then you can pull it out from there. It just keeps sliding out and is a good sized table to fit your meal. Combined with the counter, you've got plenty of space. Below the table is the footwell. It reminds me of the A330 Neo footwells with its dimensions. It is deep, but it's not as wide as others. That being said, the A350 cabin does allow for a little more space at least. They don't want any storage there or on the floor by your feet, so in-seat storage is the #1 thing we're looking for, so we can keep our backpacks in the overhead bins. Before looking at the storage, I've got good news for all of y'all that run hot. On that modern A350 ceiling is the individual overhead air vents. Now for some of that seat storage. Along the aisle, each seat has this little cabinet. It's got a spot below to hang coats, and above that is a pocket for literature that can fit smaller reading materials or laptops. Moving our way around the suite, you can see here the closing door to the suite, only that it's locked until we get in the air. Then the counter. I do love the wood pattern they use, and it's a nice size to supplement the tray table. At the back of the tray table is the charging ports and headset plug. Above that is the mood light for the suite, which I'm a big fan of this design. Then is the main in-seat storage. This cabinet opens up, and it's one of the largest cabinets I've ever seen in an airplane seat. Inside is 2 shelves and a hook for a headset. Personally, between this and the coat and literature pocket, I'd find more than enough storage in this seat considering the bags have to go up in the overhead bins. Next to that is a reading light. No dimming, but it does swivel. Down next to the counter are the seat controls. No individual adjustments, just progressions from sitting to laying, as well as light controls and the do not disturb mode. The remote is under that as well and can also serve as a second screen if you want the map on there and the entertainment on the main screen. Below that is a literature pocket and cup holder. Great placement for these things in a place that we don't usually see them. As far as the amenities, the headphones are not noise cancelling, just the simple earbuds. Remember that it's a short domestic flight, the amenities are much less than we'll see in those long-haul markets. We did get pre-departure beverages. I just wanted some water over the champagne because I was thirsty, and we didn't get water bottles on this short hop. We did get warm scented towels, a nice touch to start the flight. Then the bedding. Once again, it's a lesser than normal bedding quality, but it's not like anyone's doing much sleeping in an hour. So it starts with this small thin pillow, although I do like the gold color. Then is the blanket. It's actually super warm and cozy, even if it is thin. The overhead air vents make it so you can really set your perfect temperature. Now, one of the greatest things that happened somewhat in parallel with this new aircraft was an entire redesign of the Air India brand. Most people know that Air India and Vistara are merging after the acquisition by Tata and Singapore Airlines. This began a rebranding to launch Air India into the modern day of marketing and customer experience. Last February was the last time that I flew Air India. I flew their longest flight from San Francisco to Bengaluru in their economy class in their old flagship product. Outdated is just one of the words we could use to describe it. I also flew with Vistara last year and loved it. I was nervous about the outcome of the merger, but it seems as if Tata has taken the baton and ran with it, as the merger and rebranding is helping to regain Air India's global notoriety and former glory. For example, last time I flew Air India, the in-flight entertainment system was criminally bad. This time, as you'll see shortly, they have released an entirely new entertainment system for their A350s and 777-200s. There will also be new headphones for all the cabins. Business and premium economy will get the noise-canceling headphones, with economy getting reusable headphones. There will also be brand new amenity kits for long-haul flights, with new livery, new planes, new crew uniforms, new entertainment, new menus, new bedding, new tableware. It all means that we're getting an entirely refreshed customer experience, and one that I'm excited for. I mean, they updated pretty much everything within their power. That being said, it will take some time to clear up some of the older issues and reputation from the state-owned days, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. Perhaps something I'm most curious about is how many Indian people travel with Emirates, Qatar, and Singapore for their international travel, and while that is a big-time challenge to compete with, it's good to see them seriously trying to gain their customer base. The A350 is the first start of this new identity in its entirety, so we'll be able to see how it's working very soon, even though most of that stuff wasn't experienced on this short domestic flight. But someday soon we will come back to try the true long-haul experience of the new Air India. Now that we're in the air, we were given the menus and asked what we wanted, since they had to get cooking if we were going to get served and then eat before arrival. We were given our choice of starter and main course. They didn't take our drink order, but I did place my food order. I also asked once we got in flight if they could unlock the door so I'd be able to close it. They obliged, and now you can see here what this suite looks like with the fully enclosed suite, from the inside and from the outside. Plenty of privacy, and the walls were super high, so even when people were walking by, if anything, all you saw was the top of their heads. While waiting for the food, it was a good time to go through one of the best things about the new Air India, and that's the revamped in-flight entertainment system. The movies have all the categories to sort by. You can skim quickly on the left side or scroll through them all on the majority portion of the screen. They've got an incredible selection of movies from all different regions of the world. Perhaps the best part is that they have a ton of new movies and an updated list of classics. Their old system had some very outdated items. TV shows are more of the same, with categories on the left or the options on the right. There's less TV shows for sure, but it's still an updated selection at least. It's also good to know that The Big Bang Theory survived yet another entertainment refreshment. Each TV show also has multiple episodes with full seasons. The music selection is probably the widest category of entertainment. Not only does it have music from all around the world, but each genre has multiple albums of multiple artists and lists of songs. Maybe one of these days I'll choose music over movies. The game selection was alright, but then I lost the footage of the game options, but nothing too unexpected. The My Flight section had a few options like maps. They have a kids map and a normal map. The map opens with a flight summary page, and then from there there's all kinds of different options for the map. The map is adjustable as it's the newest type of map. It's also great to have all the different camera angles, as well as being able to learn about a number of cities around the world just by tapping on them on the map. Lastly, we have the cameras. The A350s have a tail-mounted camera and a belly-mounted camera. Fun for takeoff and landing. Now supposedly the A350s have been fitted with Wi-Fi, which was good to hear because when I flew Air India last, there was no Wi-Fi. I just didn't have time to test it out on this super short flight where I was so busy recording things and documenting things that I never even turned on a TV show, not even while I was eating. The lavatories on the A350 are commonly basic, but they are at least modern. You can see there's plenty of places for amenities. I would assume that on long-haul flights we will see lotions, perfumes, and sanitizers. It sounds like the drawers will have combs and dental kits most likely, kind of like Singapore Airlines' A350s. I was then able to borrow one of the unused seats in order to test out the bed. This is one of the middle seats, but in the same configuration as the seat that we're sitting in. Using the buttons on the side of the counter, the only thing we can really do is hold down the lie flat button, and we can stop it at any point by just letting go. That being said, it was one of the slowest reclining seats I have come across in all of my travels, so I just sped it up for all of us. Once flat, it makes a really great sized surface, plenty wide, and it reaches the footrest entirely, although the surface is still a little hard for my liking. To dress the bed, life is simple with the economy flight amount of bedding starting off with the little pillow. It's a nice silky gold material, but kinda small for sleep if you needed more than an hour or two. Then the blanket completes the ensemble. It might be thin, but it is warm and it does cover the entire surface down to your feet. The same cannot be said for US and European domestic flight blankets. Once laying down, you'll see that the A350 footwell is a bit bigger than the A330neo. If you sleep on your back, your toes might be a bit close to the top of the footwell. If you sleep on your side, you should be okay as long as you aren't really trying to spread out. To help seal the deal and make it extra cozy, you have your lighting adjustment for the main light and accent light on the countertop, controlled with the lighting button to dim or turn off. And lastly, there's the Z's button on the control, which activates the Do Not Disturb mode. From the outside, all it does is turn the seat number from white to red. Especially with the closed door, I would think you'd have no problem sleeping here. The only reservation I have is that if the middle seats have air vents, I couldn't find them. The ceiling is so high that it doesn't make sense to put them there, and I didn't see them in the suite, so keep that in mind I guess if you run hot. Pick a window seat to guarantee those air vents if you'd like. Not even 30 minutes after departure, one flight attendant came around with the tablecloths for our breakfast, while the other worked to prep the meals for everyone. Shortly after that, they began delivering the food to each seat. They went with a one-tray service with the starter and main course, considering they wouldn't have time to come back really before descent. For my breakfast starter, I chose the oats and banana smoothie, which was great. And then for the main course, the menu had it listed as masala dosa, medu vada, and a spinach uthapam, with sambar and chutney. It was tasty, not the best thing I've had on an airplane, but I also got full halfway through just because I had eaten breakfast in the lounge a couple hours ago. By the time I had finished the meal, we were already preparing for our descent, but not before I shut my door with a masala chai and just enjoyed life for about 15 minutes before I was forced to snap out of it and prepare for landing. Now I will add that originally my plan was to get on the maiden flight of the Air India A350. This plane originally arrived in Delhi in late December of 2023. It went through its onboarding maintenance and crew training and then was officially scheduled on an every other day alternating schedule to a number of high-demand domestic routes. The problem is that by the time the date was announced as January 22nd of this year, I was already scheduled to work. It looked to be quite a party though, with other influencers such as Sam Chewy and Josh Cahill showing up for the event. While I'm bummed to have missed that first hurrah, I'm glad I was still able to get out here and try it out. Still in the beginning phase with Air India still. Air India does have exciting plans for the A350s just from the small glimpse we've gotten into the future. As of now, they're running domestic circuits around India to get all staff trained on the new aircraft, from cabin crew and pilots to ground staff. From that point on, we'll most likely see it on their longest destinations, being that it's far more efficient than the older 777s they're using currently, so I'd guess that the US and Canada would see the A350 first, even with nothing officially scheduled yet. Air India has also announced some new destinations that they might be launching. The A350 makes these much more possible with its range and efficiency, including their announced plans for Los Angeles and Dallas, and also potentially adding Boston. What I do wonder is that since San Francisco sees the most weekly flights, if we see the A350 brought there to relieve the 777s for the new markets they want to explore. The US expansion will also be interesting considering that Air India just began a partnership with Alaska Airlines back in November of 2023, allowing for 32 more bookable destinations via transit at Alaska Airlines destinations. San Francisco is one of their US hubs, but it makes me wonder if we'll see Air India at Seattle soon, Alaska's largest hub. I do find this partnership a bit interesting since Air India is Star Alliance and Alaska is One World. But as an interline agreement, it doesn't allow accrual of miles for the full ticket, and rather the partnership ends at being able to book more final destinations. Now, as far as the demand, Air India must have seen a demand for wide bodies because their Boeing and Airbus orders, they have plenty of wide bodies coming in the next handful of years. They also have said they plan for at least the A350-1000s to have a first-class cabin, something that they have had on their 777s, but nothing else. The Aeroflot A350s are a 3-cabin setup only with business, premium economy, and economy. But after the 6 Aeroflot A350s, when Air India brings in their own fresh A350-1000s, we'll have to see if that first-class cabin ends up as a reality. Look, if this is the new Air India, I'm all in. The new product blew me away, from the new crew uniforms to the new logos to the new paint on the airplanes and of course the interior itself. If I'm being honest, I wasn't so sure that I'd be a fan of Air India's new livery, but once I saw it in person, it was incredible. Much better than the pictures in my opinion. Now this is admittedly not the full picture of the A350 operation considering it's a short domestic flight. I definitely want to come back and try the long haul services once those become official. Just looking at the improvements that were made, however, I'll admit that this was my first time in Air India's business class. If you recall my Air India video from last year, it was reviewing their economy class on their longest flight from San Francisco to Bangalore, and it was one of the lesser flights on my channel. So for a true comparison, I feel like I have to try the economy class on a long haul route so I can see how much they improved the product that I have tried in the past. I'll start by saying that for a domestic lounge, I love what Mumbai offers. I would love to check out the international version of the lounge in the future. As for the cabin, the second you enter, it feels spacious and cozy. The A350 does a great job at this just from the cabin size alone, but especially in business class where there aren't any overhead bins in the middle section, so you have much greater sight lines. The seats themselves are incredible, and technically they're an art of Aeroflot, not Air India, so I'm excited to see what Air India rolls out once that time comes soon. The meal impressed me considering in Europe you get a little snack, and in America you're lucky to get a bag of pretzels on a flight under 2 hours. I can't speak to the amenities as well solely because on a domestic flight they're severely truncated. All in all though, color me impressed. If we think of this short 1.5 hour flight as the free trial, or cheap trial I should say, definitely not free, then I'm buying the full subscription. I definitely need to spend more time in the seat and see the long haul package with amenity kits, full menus, bedding, etc. Call me crazy, but the hard product alone, in my opinion, rivals the Qatar Q Suites. The true test will be the long haul soft product. The airport product will probably never meet those standards of Doha, but I'm still impressed overall. Like, it might be too early to jump to conclusions, but did the Tatas save Air India? I mean, it feels like an entirely different carrier than what I flew last year. Anyways, while I'm left basically speechless, let me know what you think of this new Air India business class flagship. Check out my Air India video from last year to see the comparison of where we came from the old and the new, and stay posted for a video once this thing starts going long haul, as well once the full Air India product, not the Aeroflot product, is rolled out. For now, however, safe travels. I'll see y'all next time.